In June of 2018, a documentary called Won't You Be My Neighbor was released documenting the life of Fred Rogers, the host of famous kids show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. This documentary got me thinking, we could really use somebody like him today. Then it hit me. Does anyone even know who Mr. Rogers is? Do you know who this man is?
No.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait, is that Mr. Roger, right? What is his name?
You got it right, Mr. Rogers.
No. I feel like I should know.
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, that's It's a Wonderful Day in This Neighborhood. What's his name? He just died.
Mr. Rogers. Do you know who this is right here?
No, I do not.
Fred Rogers was a kids' television show host from 1968 to 2001. His iconic sweater and sneakers would entertain kids around the world and teach them very important life lessons. Some of these, his contemporaries wouldn't dare to touch at all because they were looked at as too sensitive of topics for kids. Mr. Rogers would talk about things like divorce, death, assassination, and even racism. One example of this that was very direct was when Mr. Rogers had one of his puppets talk about the assassination of JFK.
What does assassination mean?
Have you heard that word a lot today?
Yes. And I didn't know what it meant.
Well, it means somebody getting killed in a sort of surprise way.
Another example, which was very subtle but very effective, was when Mr. Rogers shared a pool with a black cop. He even shared a towel with him, which, back then, was very risky.
Oh, there's Officer Clemens. Hi, Officer Clemens. Come in.
Rogers, how are you?
Fine. Won't you sit down?
Oh, sure. Just for a moment.
It's so warm. I was just putting some water on my feet.
Oh, it sure is.
Would you like to join me?
That looks awfully enjoyable, but I don't have a towel or anything.
Oh, you share mine.
Okay.
Sure.
Around the country, they didn't want black people to come and swim in their swimming pools. And Fred said that is absolutely ridiculous.
But it brought attention that was much needed toward the topic. Mr. Rogers wasn't like every other kids' television show host. He wasn't goofy and jumping out of hula hoops or anything too crazy to get kids' attention. Shows like Sesame Street, Captain Kangaroo, and the Banana Splits were nothing like Mr. Rogers. He would simply talk to his audience, sing songs with a purpose, and would reassure kids that he'd see them tomorrow. You wouldn't think this would work, but it did, and it had an impact on all of those who grew up watching him. Mr. Rogers was ahead of his time. During a time which nowadays there are no kids shows that seem like they talk about important issues, to not only teach kids about the world, but prepare them for it is not good. Mr. Rogers, like I said earlier, taught kids about divorce, which is at one of the highest points it has ever been, sitting around the 40 to 50% according to CDC.gov. He also taught kids about death/assassination and racism. These are real-world problems that would be very helpful if kids knew about instead of us hiding these topics from them. You must wonder, would kids or people in general be as sensitive nowadays if we had someone like Mr. Rogers? Would we have kids filming fights in school, short attention spans, and social media being a big problem? Mr. Rogers is all about teaching everyone that we need to be good neighbors, because we live in this world together. He always reminded kids at the end of the show that he wanted you to be the person he knew you could be. Fred Rogers passed away on February 27th, 2003. There is no one that will ever be able to replace Mr. Rogers, but will there ever be anyone that will continue to build off of his legacy? Or was Mr. Rogers truly one of a kind? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Welcome to entertainment this week. Let's see what's on the agenda. Well, we had the Oscars, which sucked, but there was a Wayne's World reunion. Maybe we'll get a sequel someday. Maybe. I hope so. Also at the Oscars, Black Panther won a whopping 4 awards for Best Costume, Best Production Design, and other awards I currently cannot find. Next up is Bohemian Rhapsody, also winning 4 Oscars, but people are not happy about a Bryan Singer and his misconduct allegations. I have a question for you. What is really at the bottom of Belize's Great Blue Hole? The answer is I don't know, because it's deep ocean. It's just dark blue and ominous. Here's a funny picture. I just wanted to share it. There's a fat rat in a manhole. Poor thing. Here's something for people that probably don't care, but I'm saying it anyway. Super Smash Bros. Melee isn't on the list for EVO since 2013. If you're unaware of what EVO is, it is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, and Smash Bros. Melee, because of its complex fighting system, has been in EVO since 2013. Well, it's been in before that, but 2013 was the last time they didn't put it in. But yeah, it was kicked out for the new Smash game, Smash Ultimate. Good. Also nerdy stuff, Pokemon Sword and Shield have been announced for Nintendo Switch. I don't know how to feel about them, in all honesty. I mean, like, they look cool, the starters don't look cool, but the rest of the game looks really cool. So, I'm picking it up, no, without a doubt. And finally, to end this week on a high note, new Jonas Brothers music is on the way. They say they're releasing something today when you watch this, which is Friday, March 1st. Are we sure? No, but if they come back, I'm coming to a concert. Without a doubt, it's the Jonas Brothers. It's the Jonas Brothers. And that has been it for entertainment this week. I am Jason Jett, and I will see you next time.
It's lights out, and away we go. It's a good start from Hamilton. Raikkonen comes across, comes on Sebastian Vettel. Verstappen's in the hunt as well. Hamilton will lead them into turn one. And then
Formula One.
Yeah, I got no power though. Will it get better?
Negative, Daniel, negative.
today in Monte Carlo, it's redemption day for Daniel Ricciardo. He wins the Monaco Grand Prix. And 4 of the last 6 races. He had a turbo failure in practice. He very nearly missed out on qualifying. He has made every single opportunity that's come his way today. Ricciardo wins the Chinese Grand Prix. Behind him, Bottas.
The Belgian Grand Prix had an explosive start with a huge accident at turn 1, causing a safety car.
And it's lights out and away we go here at Spa. Hamilton gets away well. Perez as well, covering his teammate. Hamilton moves over to cover up Sebastian Vettel, and there's locking up in a crash. And Fernando Alonso goes over the top there of Charles Leclerc's Sauber. Also involved Nico Hulkenberg.
The German GP saw championship leader Sebastian Vettel crash near the end of the race when he got a bit too aggressive with the hairpin, beginning the downfall of the season.
Is it out of the race? Sebastian Vettel. He has been leading almost from start to finish, but now is out of this race.
Sake.
Safety car deployed.
The United States GP saw Kimi Räikkönen end his 113 winless race streak.
Checkered flag for him as a winner. Kimi Räikkönen wins the US Grand Prix and breaks the record for the longest gap between race wins. It is victory for Ferrari. It is victory for
Lewis Hamilton won the World Drivers' Championship in Mexico with 1 race to go.
Hamilton, the man from Stevenage, has done it once again as he rounds the final corner. It's high fives for Lewis Hamilton, a 5-time champion of the world.
Hey Lewis, congrats, man. That's how you do it, baby. Just like I taught you. That's how you do it. Just like that. That's how you're supposed to drive.
Well, they've given him permission down at Mercedes to do a few donuts as well.
So we decided to do this friendship dance because Rachel came to me in the summer and asked if Best Buddies and Key Club wanted to join together and create an event. And being in Best Buddies for a long time, so I've been in it for 7 years, 4 in high school. I have seen there's been a lot of events for Best Buddies members, but a lot of them are in the northern end of Maryland, and there's nothing in the southern end. And we wanted to bring it down south so that kids down here could get the same opportunities that the kids in the northern part of Maryland get.
Since Key Club had planned snow coming before, we kind of had an idea of how to do a dance, so it was definitely a lot of breaking into committees. So one group was in charge of decorations and making a floor plan, another group was in charge of making a website and an RSVP site, and then another group was in charge of like food and drink and activities. So it was definitely a lot of planning. We started planning it at the beginning of the school year, but it all came together with everyone's help.
So this dance is important because many students that have disabilities don't get the same opportunities as normal high school students. So we wanted to incorporate a dance for all ages that included everyone, their parents, their family members, and just make it a really fun event because many kids don't go to their prom or homecoming, or even like when you're in elementary school and you have dances, they don't go to those either. So this was like a special dance for everyone, and we wanted to make sure everyone had fun.
I think the dance was a huge success. We had over 70 members attend, not including volunteers, and so many people came up to us at the end of the dance, parents and students, and were like, we hope you do this again next year, and they all had a blast.
I agree with Rachel. I think the dance went really well. I had a lot of people email me and tell me how well it went, and had a lot of people that work in the school system that were there and spoke to my mother, who's also a teacher in special ed, and said how wonderful it was and how Key Club and Best Buddies did such a great job, and so we're glad that it was a success.
Welcome to this week's sports recap. I'm Robert Patel. Let's get right into it. In NFL news, it's the off season. There's still exciting things happening though. 49ers use their franchise tag on kicker Robbie Gould. Franchise tag allows teams to keep a player exclusively for 1 year with no teams allowed to have conversations with them. They usually just have to meet a certain number, salary figure, to meet for that player. It's usually a very high number. NFL Combine starts today and runs through Monday. It'll be the showcase of this year's top draft prospects. Look out for prospective number 1 pick Nick Bosa from Ohio State and Heisman Trophy winner Kyler Murray. MLB spring training is in full swing with teams playing 4 to 5 games already. The biggest show in baseball, though, still trying to figure out where in the world Bryce Harper will end up going. It seems like it's down to the Phillies. It really seems like he's going to the Phillies. But late contenders, the Dodgers and the Giants, may have something to say about that. However, the Dodgers look to be doing a short-term deal with a lot of money, but Bryce Harper is looking for something much more long-term, which could be very well upwards of $300 million. That's a lot of dollars. In NBA news, the Lakers are pretty much falling apart, slowly. They've dropped to the 11th seed in the West, 3 spots out of a playoff spot, 4 games back with 20 games to go. Their chances of having a top 3 draft pick are now higher than their chances of making the playoffs. LeBron doesn't like that. LeBron's getting angry. LeBron's yelling. Everyone gets mad at LeBron for want to win. Not good. Celtics are on a 4-game skid, making it their biggest of the season, and the Beard, James Harden, 30-point game streak ends at 32 games. It's a lot of games in a row with 30 points. Crazy week in college basketball. Zion Williamson's shoe explodes, gets put on the injured list. Duke falls from the 1 seed after losing to UNC, then picks up a big win against Syracuse, who they had lost to earlier. And on the next game, they lose to number 20 Virginia Tech. It's the first time in a while there hasn't been a dominant team arising from the college basketball ranks. Look out for March Madness coming up midway through the month. Look out for some Cinderella stories. And football's back! Kinda. Arizona, Salt Lake, San Antonio, Atlanta, Birmingham, San Diego, Memphis, and Orlando all have teams in the AAF, which started games several weeks ago, right at the end of football season. Football all year round. Great, right? You should watch a game. It's really good football. It's really good. That was this week's sports recap.